Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 113 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to finish up planning for all the new smelting setups that we need. Enjoy! Then there's Invar. Did we do Invar yet? I don't think so. We just did steel here. Although, we have this set for our maximum steel output, but that's actually going to create 45 Invar plate a second. And I don't think we need 45. Or I should say, I don't think we need 2 belts worth. Although it does go into this military science pack here. Probably should check and see exactly what we're dealing with. I hate to make it all over again. Probably shouldn't have removed it from the list here. But let's see what we're dealing with. It's actually a ton more Invar than brass plates. 13.5 Invar for 1 pack. So we're actually going to be severely limited by Invar on this. Well, if that's the case, then we probably want to be making as much Invar as we can get away with. Which in this case is 30 steel per second. We definitely could expand this, because we're only using 15 nickel a second when we're actually producing 30. And if we come up here, the next tiers of steel, we can see where, like with iron, we can mix silicon or manganese to double the output. So once we get this researched, and it's really not that far down once we get the blue science, we'll be able to start doing that. So out of all of the things we're going to produce, steel is probably the one that's most likely to expand. So we probably want to do it like this, where we do steel on the outside on the right. So that way when we have the more processes, we can just kind of slap them onto the side. Because with all these other things, when we get more processes, we're just going to have to put them on the end and just deal with the spaghetti that happens as a result of it. So we actually could produce a heck of a lot more Invar than this. So let's size this up. Let's size it up based on our total nickel output. So this is double what the factory currently can do, but hopefully once we get that research, this will be more fully utilized. Although I guess we could always build it half-sized, but it's really not that big. It's only, 6.7 induction furnaces, or let's say 8 induction furnaces and then 60 casting machines. So it's not like it's going to be a very big setup. So I kind of want to build this now. And actually, this might be an excellent opportunity to research signposts, which is a neat little mod that we can put signs down. Look how fast that goes. To make notes of things, because it's kind of easy to forget stuff. And there we go. Now we can make a metal sign. It's actually my first time using this mod, so let's see how it works. But it's a little sign that goes down. And I guess you can go up there and type stuff. So you can be like testing, testing. You can select the colors. Select the fonts. So there we go. Now it actually shows up when we're walking by. So that's a little easy to see. So if there's something odd, like I removed a pipe for some reason, now we can have a sign here. And be like, oh, something happened. You hover over the sign. And then we can have a longer description about what was changed and why. So what I was thinking we can use that for is we can build this setup to be twice as big. And then we'll put a sign down and say that it's twice as big. And that it's waiting for more efficient steel production. So, 30 hours from now we come back here and be like, huh, why is it so big? We have no way of ever producing this much steel. Why did I build it this big? Well, now we'll have these little signs that we can place to help remind us. Because, you can use Hell Mod, but after a while, this list gets really long and you just need to clear it out and start deleting things. So it's like, after a while, you just have to remember why you did things in a certain way. Is that when you look at this stuff, it's like it looks like a computer. And in a way, it is a computer. It's a video game computer, but computer nonetheless, with circuit pathways and components that need to be next to each other and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a new setup of 60 casting machines, which will make 3 belts of Invar. Although, actually, now that I'm reconsidering again, I wonder... It might not matter, actually. Because I'm wondering, is there Invar coils? Maybe I should just search that. It doesn't look like there is. So this is just going to produce 3 belts of Invar. And that is what it is. Okay. Well, it's actually going to be very similar to this, where a line like this will produce 20 per second. Entities missing construction. No! Did I miss one? Yes. Oh, that's annoying. How long's that hole been there? Well, that is an injustice that cannot continue. I was like, accumulator? Why is there an accumulator on the list? There we go. So that's good enough for 20. So that's 40. And then 60. And we shall set this for Invar. And then we need a fairly compact 8 induction furnaces. And we'll just use this right here. And space everything out to make it fit. Okay. Then what kind of inputs? 2 inputs of steel and 1 of nickel. So basically we need to pick that up and move it over by 1. And then red belts. For everything we can do, let's say, steel on the outside. It's probably going to be a whole lot of inserters for this. Huh, I forget the power of stack inserters. Just 1 for each side. So these 2 outer belts will be the steel. And then the nickel will come down in the middle, share between them. And there we go. That's pretty good. Let's put our sign in here somewhere. Hey, we can make an icon too. And I don't even know what to do. Let's see. Let's make it a steel. Since the steel plate is the thing that is low. It's cool how it auto-populates it. Or actually, let's do steel ingots. So at least that's the thing that would explain this setup. So we can click on here. Ah, cool, and it shows up on map too. It's probably worth putting up there. I don't know if it would be sign spam with all those things on there. Well, does it show up on this mode? No. So it might be worth doing that. Let's see, so show title does not put it there, but it does put it on the map. But let's see. Let's see, sized for 60 steel per second. Factory only has 30 currently. Let's see, I don't like the thing wrapping around, so let's just do that. Expect more steel with blue research for mag and silicon. Seems pretty good. And then it's on the map too. We'll see about it showing up there. Thing is if it wasn't up there, it might be kind of hard to see, but I don't know, maybe it needs to be hard to see. I mean, you still see it when you walk by. That's pretty obvious. So it probably doesn't need to be on the map. But looking good. We're working our way through this stuff here. As we do, it'll get simpler and simpler. But we need to do tinned copper wire coils. So 30 strand casting machines. And then basically 7 of each induction furnace. Running out of space for all this stuff. Since this is one of these smaller setups, we probably Should just copy this guy. We'll make a blueprint of it. In case we want to expand it later, which we could if we wanted to. Now we need to go somewhere else. Our space for building items is now full. We're gonna have to start clearing out a bunch of trees. I guess we can start using this space right here for now. Let's see. Let's try to use this space right here. So we need to set these for the coils, and that's actually probably going to completely change how these are set up because the pipes are no longer matching. So we'll have to move this around. Let's see here. Well, let's pick this up. Space it over by 1. And actually, if we pick it up, move it up by 2 spaces. We can get everything to line up here. Let's see, and then these can come down and zigzag. And then they can go up and over to get everything covered. Let's see, now that we've got a setup, let's pick up a bunch of stuff and copy the new thing. Let's see if we can clean up some of these power poles. So now to produce this, we need to have 2 different types of fluids here. So one of these is making copper, and one is making tin. And let's use tanks, since I was using it before. So let's put that one right there. And have the second one like right there. So we got to get this all distributed. So that gets the copper, although we can make it a little straighter. If we're willing to offset this stuff a little bit. Needs to come up through there, but let's do some undergrounds in there so the pipe won't connect. And that should be the 3 tin connections. And there we go, all spaced out if it needs to expand. Looking good. So now tin sheet coils. We need to do 30. Basically this right here. So we'll plop that in there. So let's get this set up for sheet coils. And that should be it. Moving down the list. Solder coils, which we have 2 different ways to make. But the more ideal which will make 30, so we'll base it on 30. And then we'll need a line of 7 and a line of 4. Probably no reason why we can't just copy this one over again. Uh-oh. We've completely used up all of our stone reserves, and now we won't be able to make iron the efficient way for very much longer. Which is fine, it'll just have to start turning on the less efficient ways, but it'll have to be the ones it can actually turn on since there's so many stop signals going on right now. But that's what happens. Your factory only has so much stone, and then it runs out. And we could do a stone generator if we needed to, by washing for geodes, so we would never have this problem. I kind of want to see how the factory's going to work without doing that. So for now, I'm just going to let it run out of catalyst. We have a lot of slag though, so why isn't slag being used? Is it a pipe that's not connected? Yes. No purified water. What do you know? Same story, different day. There we go. Back in business. Is this one hooked up? Yeah, seems to be. It looks like we used up all of our crushed stone, basically, because the system was trying to fill up the mineral sludge as best as possible, and since we didn't have any other source from it, that's what it had to do. Oh, and that shut down geo processing as well, because it's also hooked up to the same water pump. Whoops. Well, never mind then. Let the ore flow. So, solder coils. Then we have to make it from 2 different methods. Looks like tin is the common element, so we probably want tin to be in the middle. So let's pick this up and move it over 1 square. So this will be tin and lead, which we need 7 of, and we have them. And this other side will be tin and zinc. Okay, let's get the extra belt in here. So one on the left is lead and tin, the one on the right is tin and zinc. So tin will be in the middle. We need some logic wires. Let's see, the common element between the 2 of these is nickel. So let's control the nickel inserters. Between the 2, which one's more desirable? Probably the zinc one, because zinc is a byproduct, technically, where lead we can make on demand. So let's say if the tank gets below 40,000, of molten solder, the method with zinc turns on. And then if it gets below 30,000, the method with lead will turn on. Between these 2, the lead is the more fail-safe solution, so it can always be on as necessary. But we should enable or disable the input of zinc based on if we have an excess of it. So let's make an arithmetic combinator. Put it in there. Zinc times 1. Output a zinc to clean up the signal. And then let's control the zinc inserter. Say that zinc has to be greater than 40,000 to turn on. Okay. I think that is configured. Looks like there are some extra unnecessary pipes in here. And there's some extra power poles in there too. Okay. Solder is configured. Now we need lead, which is just 14 into 30. Which is pretty close to identical to this one right here, making the tin. So let's just grab it. And we need more space again. And let's plop that in there. So set this for lead, and set this for lead as well. Nothing special there. So now we just got the couple of random things left to do, like aluminum. So 6.7 and 20, which is very similar to steel here. So we want aluminum plate. and switch that to molten aluminum. Pretty straightforward. Next, we need to do glass. The setup is similar, except that we need 120 powder mixers in there. And we've got something going on here. That pattern might be copyable. But let's drop this in for now. Luckily, we are making powder mixers here. So we needed 120. Well, let's let that get started. That's also going to take a bunch of steel. I'm kind of surprised that steel has been barely keeping up, but it has. Haven't had to waste any time. So let's switch this over to glass. I don't think we have any better ways of making glass right now. We will later. We can make better glass mixture by adding a lime to our silicon. But that's blue science. This is alright for now. So we got our molten glass. And now we need those powder mixers. Let's just grab a copy of that. And we'll just plop it up here somewhere. And figure out what's going to work best. Once it's all laid out. Probably just going to have to deal with ghosts for now while we're waiting on all these powder mixers to be made. Let's see, we've got 12 right there, so we need to do 9 more copies here. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can copy the whole thing second time. So that is 120, which is the amount we needed. I feel like some of these inserters are kind of reversed. Well, to make sure they're all the same, you can pick all that up. And copy the good one. So this output needs to combine all into one belt. Which can be right here. Okay. Pick it up and put it in its final spot. Something like right there. And hey, we've got our 120 powder mixers. Okay. Glass is done. Now silicon, which is a little different because we have to put molten silicon into the casting machines like other places, but we also need 4 casting machines supplying these silicon seeds, which they will input. So we're going to need to make something here. Let's just push this off to the side. Okay, let's see here. Well, we can pick this up and move it over by a square to give us room for the monosilicon to get in here. So there we go, we've got some room for the seeds to get in. Then there can be the output. But we need a couple more, where we want a total of 30 of these, or 15 on each side, but let's just do 16. So we've got 10. So we need another 6. We can get rid of this side. Then copy this one right there. Now we need 4 casting machines making the seeds. Just noticed that some of these have the storage tanks on them and some of them don't. I might have to go through some of those and add them later. I mean, they're not strictly required. It's just interesting that some of them have controls on them and some of them don't. So let's see, we need to make the seeds, which we need to position these just right. Let's see, let's do reds, but with distance changing inserters. So long-handed pickup, regular drop. Oh, if I change the side on this one, these could all be completely straight. I do like the idea of that. There we go, we need to get the nitrogen in there, but we'll worry about that in a second. Let's see, let's put the tank in here, and one thing these tanks are useful for is just splitting the flows. So we probably should have them in all locations. But now we just need the 6.9 induction furnaces, just like any other location here. So we'll set that to silicon. And that part should be pretty good. Now we just need a little bit of chemical plant. There we go, that injects the nitrogen. You will have to have an output which we will need to attach to the system. But that's easy enough. Also, we need an air filter. Let's just put it over here just to keep things from getting too crowded. That system's gonna start running already. That's okay. It's gonna stop pretty soon. We need underground right there. Okay. Silicon is good. And we need silver, which is 4 and 10. Is that a number we've done before? Well, we've got 4 and 20. Doesn't look like it. Well, let's copy something that actually has the tank in it. And plop that right there. So we only need 10 here. Let's see, we can make this a lot closer. And why not, let's squish this in here. Like right there. So we set this for silver. And this as well. And there we go. Silver's done. And actually, that's everything. Our factory kept up with what we needed. So you probably want to go through everything and make sure there's no extra pipes or belts or anything else. Just want to see if anything looks weird, and we'll worry about connecting the tops with the resources as required. But there's always some things which are always a little off on each one of these. You'll never find everything, but it's worth eyeballing it. Let's see, let's try to add these storage tanks into these setups here. Just so there's consistency between all of the designs. Aren't bots amazing? Can make tiny changes without having to rebuild anything. I'm kind of worried that they're all slightly different sizes, but every one of these setups is different, so I don't think there's any hope of them ever looking symmetrical. Okay. Tanks placed. What does everything else look like? Pretty good. Let's check the other setups. And just on cue, we filled up on steel. We don't need it anymore, but the factory kept up the entire time, which was surprising but relieving. Okay, everything looks pretty good here with our cute little sign. We just need to modify this. Looking pretty good. I think that does it for all of our setups. Certainly if we forgot something, we'll find out later. That is okay. We did the best we could. Now the next step here is we need to expand the base, because all of these machines, of their various sizes and complexities, they take up a decent amount of space. It won't be super compact, but it's going to be kind of, you know, a mess out here, where it's going to be a lot of spaghetti feeding all these different things. And we're going to have like a whole bunch of train stations. There'll be LTN train stations, but still be a bunch of train stations. So it's going to take up a decent chunk of space here. So we're definitely going to need to move the wall forward and use a lot of landfill. But we're going to have lots of biters to kill, because they are everywhere. Uh-oh, mine layers. So we're going to have to do some exploring. I mean, clearly the shape of that landmass is pretty well defined, where we want to follow this for a bit to find out where to put a wall, but, you know, there'll be a narrow wall there somewhere, and maybe follow this to see if it gets more narrow or not. If not, then this is probably a pretty decent spot to wall off. But that's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.